All right, let's get more on the Al-Quds hospital situation in Gaza. We can speak now to Nabeel Farzak, who's a spokesperson for the Palestine Red Crescent Society. Joins us live now from Ramallah. Nabeel, thank you for joining us here on Al Jazeera. I know things are very busy, to say the least. So we have this situation where Israel tells effectively 14,000 people taking shelter at the hospital to evacuate, plus hundreds of patients, plus all the staff and doctors and so forth. We understand that they have stayed put. Meanwhile, we've just been watching pictures of huge flares erupting and lighting up the night sky above the hospital. There's been constant bombardment around the hospital. What are your thoughts at this moment?
So since the morning, the Palestine Red Crescent has received serious threat from Israeli occupation forces, demanding immediate evacuation for Al-Quds Hospital because it is going to be bombarded. We have inside the hospital around 500 patients. Many of them are in the intensive care unit, connected to life support machines as well as oxygen. There is babies and incubators, and there is absolutely no way to evacuate them safely. We have around 14,000 civilians, most of them are children and women, who have sought refuge inside the hospital because simply they don't have anywhere to go after Israel forced them to evacuate their homes because of this intense bombardment that is taking place all over Gaza and the north. That's why they sought refuge inside the hospital, thinking that they would be in a safe place. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Now we're talking about at least 100 medical staff, as well as 500 patients. Many of them are in critical conditions. All the intensive care unit now have children who have been bombarded inside their homes, and they are in critical injuries. This is along with 14,000 Palestinian civilians inside the hospital, all of them under the threat of being bombed at any second due to this Israeli threats. Israel occupation forces, and not only say that, it also said either you're going to evacuate or then the Palestine Red Crescent will hold responsible for the lives of people inside the hospital.
Right, and just to clarify, Nabeel,
evacuation.
We'll come on to that in a sec, but just to clarify, so we've got 100 medical staff, 500 patients, many of them on life support, in intensive care units, babies on incubators and so forth, 14,000 civilians, mostly women and children, all there. And can we just confirm that all those people are still in the confines of the hospital?
Yes. 14,000 civilians are inside the hospital. They don't have anywhere to go. Many of them have already lost their homes during this intense bombardment. Many others, they simply don't know where to go since there is no safe place in Gaza. They were unable to evacuate themselves to the south due to this intense bombardment that is taking place all over Gaza and around the clock. They basically don't have transportation. There is no transportation. There is as well complete destruction of the roads and infrastructure. That's why they only sought refuge to the nearest hospital that there was able to do so. They thought they will be in a safe place, but unfortunately this is not the case because in Gaza there is no protection for anything. Although according to the international humanitarian law, civilians, medical facilities, and medical personnel should be protected according to the international humanitarian law. As we have seen due to this Israeli threats, this is not the case. It seems Israel is above the international humanitarian law. It's also above all international laws. That's why we call on the international community to intervene immediately to stop the evacuation order against Al-Quds Hospital and against all other hospitals in Gaza Strip. You should stand for humanity. Thousands of lives is at risk. Urgent action should be taken to ensure the protection of civilians, medical personnel, and medical teams, as well as all medical facilities, according to the international humanitarian law.
Nabeel, let me just come in there a second. Let me just come in there a second.
If a crime happened, it would not be only the crime of Israel.
Okay,
The
I
silence of
can't imagine.
international community
Nabal, let me just jump.
encouraging
Nabal, let
Israel
me just come
to
in
go
there for a
ahead
second.
and continue threatening our hospitals.
Nabal, I understand the situation, and I can't, at least from afar, but I can't imagine how it must be for all those people. 14,000 people, 500 patients, mostly women and children there. How it is for them not knowing what is about to happen, with the potential for a direct targeting of the hospital. Have you managed to speak to your people at the hospital? And if so, what have they said to you?
Absolutely. Many of them, they have said, we're going to stay with you because simply we don't have any other place to go to. Could you imagine 14,000 people, civilians, most of them children and women, along with elderly people, people with disabilities, only lying on the corridors of the hospital with nothing. They simply have nothing. They are lacking very basic humanitarian need, whether food, water, or even anything. They simply share with us the same facility, the same everything, trying just to safe shelter for themselves and for children. But unfortunately, they also now under the threat of being bombed due to Israeli occupation forces threatening of bombing Al-Quds hospital. This is simply should be not acceptable. This is a war crime. Hospitals, medical personnel, civilians should be protected according to the international humanitarian law. And this international community should intervene immediately and save Al-Quds hospital. We appeal to the international community. We appeal to the world leaders to stop the evacuation order against Al-Quds hospital and all hospitals in Gaza and save lives of thousands of civilians who are now under the threat of being bombed at any second. We know this is not only threats. We have witnessed and warned earlier that Israel is going to do this threat. It happened earlier with Al Ahli hospital. We don't want another massacre to be happened at Al Quds hospital. Please stop another massacre to happen in Al Quds hospital.
Nabal, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for talking to us. Nabal Farsak from the Palestine Red Crescent Media and Communication Officer there. We're monitoring the situation very, very closely, of course, and bring you updates as when we get it. Nabal, for the meantime, thanks a lot.